Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Welcome back to another edition of Masterpiece Theater. Those albums that I feel are overlooked in the overall general scheme of albums that really need to be talked about because there are just some beautiful moments on it. Those albums that have been getting a lot of praise and for very good reason, or those albums that I feel just need to be talked about just a little bit more. And today we are featuring one of those albums that when I first decided to do things like this, it was one of the albums that I needed to cover. So let's dive into Gryphon's third album. Red Queen to Gryphon 3 by Gryphon. So Red Queen to Gryphon 3 is a little bit of a concept album in the fact that it's a musical interpretation of an overall chess game. I love albums that do this, and I love bands that do this as well. These guys I heard back in university, and it was this album in particular that really got me into them. The other 4 albums that they had put out, they're alright, and they do have their moments on it, but Red Queen to Gryphon 3, there's only 4 tracks on this. The opening move, the second spasm, Lament, and finally Checkmate. And each track on this album contains one of those moments that I like to call that euphoric moment, where I really just need to close my eyes and shut off everything because the music is just so powerful and so moving that I can't concentrate on anything else, and I just have to be wrapped up in that. This album is just straight up instrumental, so that puts a lot of weight and a lot of pressure on the musicians and music being placed here. There's nothing to fall back on, so there's a lot more pressure going on within the music. Now, luckily, they are able to not only handle this pressure, but surpass it, and it opens up beautifully and masterfully with opening move. One of the reasons why I really love this album, and I was thinking about it as I was revisiting it because I had been with this album now for over 10 years. For the longest time I couldn't really place my finger on why the music was just so good. It came to me this weekend, again as I was revisiting it, that the main thing that these guys do is they present you with a theme. They present you with a string or a piece of music that will be repeated later on. So they do that classic technique where they give you an introduction, like this is what we're going to be playing. And throughout the song, there will be 1 or 2 moments where that theme gets presented again, but in such a different context that it makes that theme so much more real and just so much more powerful. For instance, within the first track of that opening move, you hear the theme near the beginning of the song, and when it gets revisited at the end of the song, that's when it really hits you. But really, for me, it's near the midpoint of this song that gives me that just beautiful moment. It's when you just got finished with that build up and that fun playing, and we're coming into this one moment, and all it is it's a little bit of a breakdown of music where the drums just kind of quiet everything and all you're hearing is the piano. And it's really interesting because the use of non-existent music in this section, it draws attention to just how quiet it is, even though there's still music going on. So when the guitars, and I believe it's a guitar with some really great after effects, it provides such a great spotlight on that it draws your attention straight to it and you're just so wrapped up in what it has to say. And the build-up that we got to this point, there's just the oboe that's providing, a very delicate dance within the music that's got that, with a little bit of the pianos going on, and then there's this big crescendo of noise, this big oomph, and that's what's really catching your attention. And there's more music at this point within the piano work, but it highlights what's not being played. And so once that guitar kicks in, you're just like, bam, there it is. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And so yeah, at the end of the song, when that main theme gets reprised again after that long stretch of music, it's just a great joy to find that you're back home again. Now the second song of the second spasm. The moment within this song that I love is that end piece that we have. Again, much like the first one, you get introduced to that main theme at the beginning. I love what they're doing with the different sounds that we have on here. Again, this is that combination of traditional sounds with the oboe, blended very, very well with the technology of the day. What's really fun about this song is near the midpoint, we just have like this almost circus act going on. It almost sounds like a kazoo or just like a really fun atmosphere. So we've got that blending, and that's kind of like the overarching theme of this overall song. If not the whole album, it's just the atmosphere of fun. You know, the blending of the guitars and the guitar work on this song is just beautiful. It's so crisp and clear, even though at times it gets pretty technical. But I love when we revisit the theme that we had been introduced with at the beginning into the end part, and it's that flute sound that we have with the synthesizer that's like really heavy hitting, where it's that really choppy part, and they don't let up as well. Like, it would have been really easy to just go through this for a couple of bars and then be done with it, but no, these guys stretch it out for quite a bit to really like emphasize and hit you over the head with that. So those first two songs are the first half of the album. The next two songs take up the second half, and it's Lament, the third song on this album, that really is one of those few songs that is so beautiful it's almost transcends words. We get introduced from the oboe, the main theme of this song, the one that will be revisited at the end, and it's something within the simplicity of the notes that makes it so beautiful. The song does go through quite a bit, and it is the longest track on the album, and so it's the build-up and it's the building of this song. It does kind of have three parts where it almost stops and starts again. The first start and stop was pretty good, and that second start and stop, I felt like that was more of the lower point of the album, or at least that song. It's that revisiting of that main theme that I don't know. It's one of those, it's so beautiful, I can't help but almost weep at times with just how beautiful it is. But not only that, it's the build-up that brings it to it. Everybody's coming in at all the same time, and it almost counts it down too. It's just like 1, 2, 3, bam! And it's that big oomph that hits you over the head, and we get revisited with that theme, and it hits so beautifully. It's it's just so good. It's so good, and it's one of those few moments in music that I just it's pretty much perfect. And finally, Checkmate. It's almost like the weaker point of the album, but I mean, if this is the weaker point, you're doing something right, because it's still quite astounding. This one doesn't really quite have that same revisiting of the theme that's so beautiful, because the theme is it's almost the exact same. Like, they don't really do too much with it. They just kind of present it in a new light from the other side of where it goes. The main point on this is the build up to that big crescendo near the end of the song, where the synthesizers really kind of go overboard. I love how it's so in your face and so like right there, and it really shifts and really turns. That was really great. But unlike the other tracks within this album, this one kind of left me wanting more, and maybe that's why I kept coming back to this, because it had ended off on such a, you know, leave them wanting more kind of a feeling. I kept coming back and starting right from the beginning, and the cycle would just perpetuate itself, and each time I would love this album so much. Overall, this album begs to be listened to, and I cannot help but recommend this higher. Through just all the reasons that I've already give, it's no surprise that this album is an absolute masterpiece. We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're not worthy! And so that's about it of Gryphon's third album of Red Queen to Gryphon 3. Have you guys had a listen to it? If not, definitely check it out. And then let me know what your thoughts are about this album by commenting down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. This was a real treat to really dive into. I've been listening to this album for more than 10 years, and each time it just brings about that warm feeling and reminds me of why I love listening to music. So thank you guys again. You guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.